Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vital Steps. Today, we really have an intriguing topic. What if I told you that some people over 70 are regaining energy, mental clarity, and improving their health with something that sounds almost futuristic, but isn't? And no, it's not about pills or spending 4 hours at the gym. This is different. It sounds like science fiction, but it's not. And although many young people are using it as a trend, some doctors are starting to adapt it for people over 65. And it's becoming the modern secret of longevity. There are simple, natural techniques adapted specifically for older adults that are helping many people feel better without relying on expensive products or passing fads. And the most important part, you could start today. Today, Dr. Adler is going to help us understand whether this is just another trend. Welcome, Dr. Adler. What we're going to talk about today? Is it real? Or are we falling for yet another modern exaggeration? Let's find out together if this whole biohacking thing actually works. Let's start. What exactly is biohacking? It sounds very techy. Isn't that just for young people?
Great question. Biohacking, in simple terms, is the art of making smart adjustments in our daily lives to improve how our body and mind function. For example, changing the time we get sun exposure to sleep better, or moving our body at specific times of the day to feel more energized. Even adjusting what we eat, not to diet, but to help our brain function more clearly. The key is that every small change is based on how our body really works. Its internal clock, its rhythm, its biology. And when we understand that, we can hack our day-to-day lives in the good sense. Because it's not about doing more things, but doing them better and with more awareness. And the best part is, many of these strategies have been studied and are showing real results, even in people over 65, 70, and even 90 years old.
So, are you saying that I can actually hack my body to feel better?
Exactly. And later I'll share 5 hacks that people over 65 can do at home. No equipment, no risks.
Now, doctor, many older adults might be asking themselves, is this really safe for me? Isn't this more something designed for young, strong people?
That's a totally valid concern, and I'm glad you brought it up. The word biohacking can sound modern or intimidating, but when we talk about gentle biohacking, we're talking about techniques designed specifically for people over 65, people with wise bodies but also with specific needs. We're not looking for peak performance or for anyone to become an athlete. What we want is real, sustained well-being. And what's interesting is that in older adults, the benefits often show up even faster. For example, a 72-year-old woman started getting 10 minutes of sunlight in the morning with no screens. And within a week, she was sleeping better than she had in the past 6 months. A 68-year-old man simply adjusted his meal times and cut back on sugar, and he started noticing clearer thinking and a better mood. And many, just by doing micro exercises upon waking, report less stiffness and more energy throughout the day.
So it's not about making huge efforts, but small changes that respect the stage of life we're in, right?
Exactly. Gentle biohacking doesn't require youth, it requires intention. And the beautiful thing is that even with just one consistent practice, you can already begin to notice a positive change.
And are there studies that support this?
Yes, several. For example, there are clinical studies that have evaluated the impact of natural light exposure in older adults. One of them, published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine, 2020, showed that older adults who got at least an hour of sunlight in the morning significantly improved their sleep quality and circadian rhythm, even in nursing homes. Another strong example comes from the field of gentle intermittent fasting, or what's called time-restricted eating. A review published in Aging Research Reviews, 2021, found that this type of eating not only improves insulin sensitivity, but also reduces inflammatory markers in older adults, something that directly impacts energy, memory, and longevity.
You just mentioned something about the circadian rhythm. That's actually a topic I'm really passionate about. Maybe not everyone listening knows much about it. Could you explain it better?
That's true. Many people don't know much about it, but it has a huge impact. The circadian rhythm is like an internal biological clock that regulates when we feel sleepy, when we get hungry, when we feel most energized, and even how our immune system works. When this clock is properly synchronized, in other words, when we live in harmony with the cycles of light and darkness, our body and mind function much better. But if that rhythm becomes misaligned, everything can start to go off track. Sleep gets disrupted, appetite shifts, we feel tired during the day and wide awake at night. In older adults, this internal clock tends to become more fragile. That's why something as simple as getting natural light early in the morning can help reset it each day.
So, for those of you listening, here's an easy way to think about it. Something as simple as opening the window when you wake up, going for a walk in the morning, or just sitting in the sun for a bit can have a huge impact.
Exactly. We're not talking about buying expensive equipment or making drastic changes. We're talking about reconnecting with natural light, something free, powerful, and completely aligned with how our body works. It's one of the oldest and most forgotten biohacks, and it's not just one study. In 2023, research published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience showed that older adults who received direct sunlight during the first hour of the morning, between 7 and 9 a.m., not only slept better, but also had improved concentration, reduced mental confusion, and greater emotional stability. This is fundamental because in later life, many people assume that fatigue or disorientation are normal, when sometimes they're just living out of sync with their own biological clock.
Doctor, what you've shared so far is fascinating. But let's get straight to the point. What are those hacks that actually work?
Of course, let's go over the 5 most effective ones for people over 65. The first one, which we've already mentioned, is 1. Morning sunlight exposure. Getting 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight in the morning activates your biological clock. It improves sleep, mood, and even appetite. 2. Time-restricted eating, gentle intermittent fasting. For example, eating between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., giving the body 14 hours of digestive rest. This improves digestion and reduces inflammation.
And isn't that dangerous, Doctor? Some older adults think that if they skip eating at night, they could feel weak or even have a health episode.
That's a very common concern, and it's important to clarify. This isn't about skipping meals or starving yourself. It's about adjusting your eating schedule so the body gets a proper digestive rest at night. For example, if someone has breakfast at 8 a.m., lunch at 1 p.m., and a light dinner snack at 5:30 p.m., they're within a healthy eating window, and they can still enjoy nutritious, tasty evening meals.
And what are the actual benefits of doing that?
There are many. For example, better sleep quality, because your body isn't busy digesting while you sleep. Reduced inflammation, which helps with joint pain, chronic fatigue, and even digestive issues. Sharper mental clarity, since the brain functions better without heavy nighttime digestion.
I imagine that also boosts energy levels. Dr. Adler,
Yes, and that's one of the first changes people notice. Many older adults who adopt this small shift say things like, "I wake up feeling lighter," or "I no longer feel heavy after a late dinner." The body recovers its natural rhythm, and you feel the difference. Let's move on to the third biohack. 3. Conscious breathing before sleep. Take deep breaths for 5 minutes, focusing on making your exhale longer than your inhale. This relaxes the nervous system. 4th, contrast foot baths, alternating hot and cold water. It boosts circulation and strengthens the immune response. 4. Daily micro-exercise, 7 minutes of movement right after waking up. We're talking about stretches, raising your arms, gentle twists. This wakes up the body. And I'm not talking about going to the gym or running a marathon. I mean 7 minutes every morning, right after getting up. Stretch, raise your arms overhead, gently twist at the waist, move your ankles, knees, shoulders. This starts the engine, like turning on a car.
Doctor, I think this is key, because many people believe if they don't do 30 minutes or an hour, it's useless. But what we're talking about here is something totally doable for anyone over 65. How about we give a concrete routine for those listening who want to start tomorrow?
Absolutely. Here's a simple and safe routine to begin with. 1 minute of full body stretching. Standing or seated, raise your arms as if trying to touch the ceiling. Breathe deeply, then lower slowly. 1 minute of gentle waist twists. Place your hands on your hips and twist gently side to side. This activates the lower back and improves balance. 1 minute of ankle mobility. Lift one foot and make circles with your ankle, 10 in each direction, then switch feet. 1 minute of knee lifts. While sitting or standing, lift one knee like you're stepping onto a stair. Alternate slowly and calmly. 1 minute of arm movements. Stretch your arms forward, then to the sides, then up. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you lower. 1 minute of shoulder rolls. Roll your shoulders forward, then backward. This helps release built-up tension. 1 minute of deep breathing and gentle shakes. Inhale deeply through the nose, exhale slowly through the mouth. Then lightly shake your hands and legs to finish.
I think that's fantastic. And the great thing is, you can even do it while listening to music or in front of the window as the sunlight comes in. It's a great way to start the day with intention.
Exactly. It's not just physical movement, it's a positive signal to your body and brain. And if you repeat it for 7 straight days, you'll start to notice results.
7 minutes. Anyone can do that, even in pajamas.
Exactly. And if someone's listening and saying, I can't even lift my arms, that's even more reason to try. There are adapted versions. Some can be done seated, even from bed.
Wow. All of that sounds so doable. And stay with us, because later we'll talk about a hack that can even help prevent falls at home. Doctor, do you recall any case where you saw real change from applying these techniques?
Yes, there's the case of Mrs. Gloria. She's 74, lives in Texas, and suffered from insomnia, anxiety, and very low energy. She didn't want to take pills. I suggested 3 simple biohacks. Go out into her garden first thing in the morning, practice breathing before bed, and limit her eating to a 10-hour window. In just 3 weeks, she was sleeping again. Her mood improved, and she even started knitting again. It wasn't magic. It was consistency and alignment with her body's natural rhythm.
So inspiring. And that makes me wonder, why don't we talk more about this in healthcare systems? Because if such simple and accessible changes like these biohacks can improve quality of life, shouldn't they be part of the standard recommendations for older adults? So often, I see medicine focus only on treating diseases once they're advanced, but preventing them through simple habits could spare a lot of suffering and hospital visits. Is it a lack of awareness, training, or perhaps a need for a more holistic view in healthcare? What do you think, Doctor?
That's a great point. I believe it's largely because traditional medicine has focused more on treating symptoms and specific diseases, often with medication or invasive procedures. But the focus on prevention, self-care, and simple strategies that empower people, especially seniors, is slowly gaining traction. There's also a cultural and educational challenge. We need more training for healthcare professionals and more outreach so that these practices are seen as a natural part of a comprehensive health plan. Fortunately, more studies are supporting these methods, and gradually some healthcare systems are starting to include wellness and healthy habit programs.
And what myths have you heard about biohacking, Doctor?
Oh, plenty. Some sound like something straight out of a sci-fi movie or a really over-the-top commercial. For example, people say biohacking is only for billionaires with secret labs and futuristic gadgets, as if you needed a spacesuit to do it. Others believe you need to take a mountain of pricey supplements that promise miracles, but end up costing more than your health insurance. And my favorite, that to do biohacking, you have to live like a monk in a cave, with no TV and no friends. Can you imagine? No thanks. I've even heard that if you don't get a weekly brain scan, you're not a real biohacker. But the truth is way simpler and much more accessible. Breathing well, moving a little, getting sunlight, sleeping on a regular schedule, all of that costs nothing. And no one's forcing you onto an astronaut diet.
So, no spaceships or magic pills, just solid habits to give your body a real upgrade, right?
Exactly. And that's much better than trying to hack your body with expensive, complicated tricks that don't work, or just drain your patience and your wallet.
Doctor, how long does it usually take for older adults to start noticing changes?
It depends on the hack, but in general, somewhere between 7 and 21 days. The key isn't perfection, it's consistency. I always say, 5 minutes a day beats 1 hour once a month.
Doctor, earlier in segment 2 you said you'd share the easiest strategy to begin gentle biohacking for people over 65. Can you tell us now what that is?
Of course, out of all the techniques we've mentioned, the easiest and safest place to start is daily exposure to natural light, especially that soft morning sunlight. Getting 10 to 15 minutes of sun a day might seem small, but it makes a huge difference in your internal clock, sleep, mood, even metabolism. And best of all, it doesn't cost anything or require any special gear.
And how can we adapt this for someone who has limited mobility or lives in an apartment with little direct sunlight?
Great question. For those who can't go outside, one alternative is to sit near a window that gets natural light. Even just opening the curtains and letting light into the home already helps. I also recommend doing it with a companion, if possible, for safety and to enjoy it as a relaxing, even social moment. Another option is to use special white light lamps that mimic sunlight, though natural light is always best.
So to begin, all it takes is stepping into a bit of sunlight, breathing deeply, and letting the body wake up naturally.
Exactly. And I also want to highlight another fundamental biohack that often goes unnoticed. Listening to your heart and becoming aware of your thoughts. This simple awareness practice, almost like a soft meditation, helps us connect with our body and mind, reduce stress, and gain mental clarity. You don't need anything more than a few quiet minutes a day. Sit still, feel your heartbeat, and observe your thoughts without judgment. This boosts emotional and physical well-being, especially as we age.
That sounds incredibly powerful. An inner biohack that anyone can do without even leaving the house. Dr. Adler.
Exactly. And when you combine this internal care with sun exposure and other simple habits, you're building a strong foundation for a healthier, more vibrant life.
Let's make a suggestion. If you're watching this episode, leave a comment below. I'm starting today. And join our 7-day Gentle Biohacking Challenge.
Exactly. All you need to do is get morning sunlight, breathe deeply before sleep, eat on a regular schedule. If you can do that for just 1 week, you're already making long-term changes to your health.
Doctor, earlier you mentioned those 7-minute morning micro-exercises, but I was wondering, is there an ideal time of day to do them? And how can we combine them with breathing for the best results?
Great question. The best time to do these micro exercises is right after waking up, before starting your day. Our body is still asleep after hours of rest, and those few minutes of gentle movement help activate circulation, lubricate the joints, and prepare the mind for what's ahead. As for breathing, I recommend syncing each movement with slow, conscious breaths. Inhale slowly through the nose during the effort part of the movement, and exhale gently through the mouth as you relax. For example, raise your arms while inhaling deeply. Lower them while exhaling slowly. This coordination helps oxygenate the blood, reduce muscle tension, and activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for relaxation and balance. By combining movement with mindful breathing, you can double the benefits for both body and mind.
That's great. So it's not just about moving, but moving with intention and controlled breathing.
Exactly. It turns those 7 minutes into a full self-care ritual. And it can really make a difference in your daily well-being.
Doctor, in many episodes we talk about prevention. But there's one concern that comes up all the time among our listeners over 65. Falls. We touched on this 2 episodes ago. You mentioned there was a biohack to help prevent them. Is there really a biohack that can make a difference?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought it up. Because there's one that's simple, safe, and very powerful. Training your balance every day, even for just a few minutes.
Balance? Like yoga or physical therapy exercises?
Exactly. But you don't need to be flexible or experienced. I'm talking about simple movements that reactivate the connection between the brain and body. As we age, our ability to stay balanced naturally declines, and that raises the risk of falls. The good news? You can retrain it. 5 minutes a day is enough. For example, stand on one foot for 10 seconds with a chair nearby for support. Walk in a straight line as if on an imaginary tightrope, or gently turn your head while standing to activate spatial orientation.
So it's like a silent biohack that can prevent a hard fall or even a serious fracture.
Exactly, and the research backs it up. The National Institute on Aging found that this kind of daily practice can reduce fall risk by up to 30% in older adults. It's like teaching your body to respond better if it ever loses balance.
I love that, doctor, because we're not talking about going to the gym or doing complex routines. This is something anyone can start today, even while waiting for their water to boil for tea.
Laughs. Exactly. It's simple, it's safe, and it might just save your hip.
Dr. Adler, thank you so much. Today, we didn't just talk about biohacking. We talked about something much deeper, taking control of our health. No excuses. With simple, accessible, and truly transformational steps.
That's right, because it doesn't matter how old you are or where you're starting from. There's always one small thing you can do today to feel better tomorrow.
And pay close attention, because the next episode could make a huge difference in your life, or in the life of your mom, your dad, or someone you love.
I wish every older adult knew this before having a fall, because many of those falls aren't just unavoidable accidents. They're actually early signals from the body that went unnoticed.
So don't miss it. Really. Subscribe now to the YouTube channel Vital Steps 2 and turn on the bell. Because what's coming next might just be, no exaggeration, the most important episode of the year for your health and your families. We'll see you in the next step, a vital step.